Begin in Atlanta, where authorities just gave an update on Friday's fatal shooting outside the CDC. The Cobb County police officer, David Rose, and the suspect both died in the shooting. CDC employees were not hurt, but the agency has ordered them to work from home. This after investigators learned the gunman tried to enter the CDC campus just before the attack. The Georgia Bureau of Investigation, along with representatives from the FBI, Atlanta Police, and Health and Human Services, held a briefing just moments ago for reporters. Here is some of what authorities discovered about a possible motive in the attack from writings left behind by the suspect.
The shooter had no known criminal history. Evidence in this investigation indicates that the shooter had recently verbalized thoughts of suicide, which even led to law enforcement being contacted several weeks prior to the incident. A search warrant executed at the residence of the shooter revealed written documentation that expressed the shooter's discontent with the COVID-19 vaccinations. These documents are currently being examined by GBI certified profilers, and they are being shared, have been shared, and will continue to be shared with the FBI Atlanta field office.
CBS News correspondent Skyler Henry was at that news conference, and he joins us now live. Skyler, what stood out to you about what was just revealed?
Well, I think the things of note, Mugo, are that the alleged shooter in this case, 30-year-old Patrick White, fired close to 200 rounds at multiple buildings on CDC's headquarters. They said that they were able to recover 500 casings in total throughout the entire crime scene. But the fact that nearly 150 were able to hit what are supposed to be blast-resistant windows on the CDC's headquarters, I think that certainly stood out. And then what you just heard there from the director here at the GBI talking about the fact that he had a written sort of complaints as it relates to the COVID vaccine altogether. And the fact that despite multiple instances where law enforcement had to come either to his home or respond to 911 calls in response to his suicidal ideations or thoughts, I think that that was certainly an interesting nugget. We also were able to ask about how he was able to access these weapons in the first place, or if they belonged to him. Turns out that they actually belonged to his father. The GBI said that the family is cooperating with this entire investigation, but the information is continuing to trickle out as we continue to learn more about not only the shooter, but what could have possibly motivated him to do what he did last Friday.
Yeah, definitely surprising hearing got the weapons from his father. At the news conference, Skyler, you asked about possible threats to the CDC. What did the FBI have to say about that?
Yeah. Well, if you can call it good news, the good news is that they say that they have not seen any sort of uptick as it relates to trends, though we have spoken to countless healthcare workers, and for that matter, we spoke to union reps of those who represent some 200 or 2,300 CDC employees who have complained and have expressed their concerns about being harassed either online or in person because of the fact that they work at the CDC and are healthcare workers. They say that that could potentially be tied to disinformation and misinformation tied to the COVID vaccine, among other things. We asked the special agent in charge about that. Listen to this.
Threats of that nature is always something we take very seriously and we look at. We've not seen an uptick, although any rhetoric that suggests or leads to violence is something we take very seriously. So that's something we're very sensitive to. We're going to respond to quickly should we see it in the future. But although we're tracking it, we're sensitive to it, we have not seen that uptick.
And to that point, we know that the CDC's Atlanta campus is undergoing a security review as we speak. Those with the union say that employees are calling for a revamp as it relates to security protocol all across the board. And that's everything from 24/7 armed security all across the campus to hardened ports of entry. They also say that communication during the time of the shooting was lackluster, even some calling it a failure. And so they say that they want to make sure and ensure that if something like that were to happen again in the future, that everyone has the opportunity to be able to be communicated with in real time. Some saying that the union was notified of the incident that was happening on campus before the CDC sent out an official alert. And so they say that they want to try to work on that, how to streamline that bits of communication so that everyone can appropriately respond and get to safety in real time.
Yeah, definitely another important aspect you wouldn't think about until something very tragic like this happens. CBS News correspondent Skyler Henry for us in Atlanta. Thank you so much for your